Thay, the air above Ragefang Ridge, a place where wild forests surrendered to endless sandy plains, began to tear. It wasn't a sound, but a felinga violent hum that vibrated through the very soul of the land. The sky split open, not with light, but with a vortex of impossible storm blue and electric silver. From this cosmic wound, a titan descended. It was the Ironstorm Leviathan, a colossal serpent forged from living metal, its meteor-sized wings catching the light as it drifted downward, a god of thunder arriving to claim a new world. Presence was an immediate declaration of war, a celestial invasion that sent a tremor of pure terror through every living thing. But deep within the towering cliffs, something ancient and territorial stirred from its stone slumber, its heart a furnace of primordial rage. The descent of the Leviathan was an apocalypse in motion. Its shadow, a vast, moving eclipse, swallowed the sun-drenched plains whole. Lightning, raw and untamed, crackled from the veins of its steel-blue hide, arcing down to scar the earth and turn ancient trees to ash in an instant. Hello. Metallic roar echoed from its throat, not a sound of flesh, but the groan of a collapsing star, a thunder that promised oblivion. The very atmosphere warped around it, the wind itself bending to its will. The invasion had begun, and the sky itself was the first casualty. Then, from the highest peak of Ragefang Ridge, a response, not a sound, but a cataclysm. The entire cliff face didn't just crumble, it exploded outward in a shower of stone and dust. From the heart of the mountain, a beast of impossible scale burst forth. The Ragefang Ridge beast, a titan born of the cliffs themselves, erupted into the light, its body a monstrous fusion of jagged stone scales and primal fur. Its eyes, two burning amber suns, fixed on the skyborn invader with an intensity that could melt mountains. Glowing runes etched along its spine by eons of telluric power, pulsed with furious energy. It didn't just stand. It commanded the ground beneath it, its earth-grip claws digging into the peak as it let out a cliff scream roar. This was no animal cry, 'twas the voice of the planet itself, a sonic boom that triggered avalanches down the ridge, a symphony of destruction answering the Leviathan's thunder. The battle for Ragefang Ridge was no longer a threat. It was a reality. The Ironstorm Leviathan acknowledged the challenge with a godlike surge of power. It coiled in the air, a serpent of living storm, and unleashed a lightning coil strike that tore across the sky. The bolt, thicker than any ancient tree, did not just strike the peak, it detonated. The shockwave that followed was a physical entity, a visible ripple that flattened a mile-wide swath of the forest below, bending colossal trees until their trunks snapped like twigs. Dust and green debris were thrown miles into the air, but the ridge beast was not there. In a display of impossible agility, it had launched itself from the cliff just before impact, a rock-shattering pounce that carried its immense weight across the chasm separating the ridge from the plains. The beast was a blur of stone and fury, soaring through the air like a living meteor. Its target, the airborne Leviathan. It slammed into the serpent's metallic flank with the force of a tectonic collision. The sound was a deafening shriek of grinding stone against storm-forged steel. The impact sent a shockwave through the Leviathan's body, causing it to falter in the air, its controlled drift momentarily broken. The ridge beast's earth-grip claws, designed to hold fast to sheer cliffs, dug deep into the Leviathan's hide, tearing through its metal scales with a horrific screech. For a breathtaking moment, the primal force of the earth had grappled the storm from the sky. And together, the two titans began a terrifying, uncontrolled descent toward the golden sands below. They fell like a dying star, a tangled mass of divine rage and primordial power. The Leviathan, infuriated, thrashed wildly, its metallic wing blades slicing through the air with hurricane-force gusts that kicked up blinding maelstroms of sand. The ridge beast held on, a relentless force of nature, refusing to release its celestial prey. Crashed into the sandy plains with an impact that shook the continent. The ground buckled, sending a tsunami of sand and rock outward for miles, burying what remained of the bordering forest under a new desert. The sheer force of their collision created a crater hundreds of feet deep, the epicenter of a world-breaking duel. The stakes had been raised from territory to survival itself. From the dust-choked crater, the fight resumed with even greater ferocity. The Leviathan, now grounded, was a tempest of steel and lightning. It whipped its tail, a blur of metal that smashed into the ridge beast, sending the stone titan skidding across the crater floor. But the beast was in its element. It slammed its claws into the earth, anchoring itself, and retaliated with a roar that cracked the very bedrock. It lunged again, not at the body, but at the wings, trying to cripple the Leviathan's only means of escape. The choreography was brutal, a cinematic dance of annihilation. Every blow was a cataclysm. Every roar was a force of nature. One was the unyielding earth, the other, the unstoppable storm. Neither would break. But the Ironstorm Leviathan was not a creature of the ground. It was a being of sky and vortex. As the ridge beast lunged for a final crushing blow, the Leviathan's eyes blazed with a new light. It began to spin, faster and faster, generating a storm vortex around its own body. The sand, the rocks, the very air itself was sucked into a swirling column of raw power. The ridge beast, caught in the pull, lost its footing, its earth-grip claws finding no purchase in the whirlwind. The vortex intensified, a cyclone of impossible scale, and with a surge of anti-gravitational force, it lifted both titans from the crater. They rose, spiraling violently, ascending back into the sky, trapped together in a maelstrom of their own making. The battle was no longer for the land, it was for the heavens. This was the crescendo. High above the wounded world, locked in the heart of the storm vortex, the true nature of their power was unleashed. The scene slowed, a moment of cinematic awe. Lightning arced from the Leviathan, not as bolts, but as a cage of pure energy, wrapping around the ridge beast's stone form. The runes on the beast's spine glowed brighter than ever, pushing back with waves of telluric force, creating visible ripples in the fabric of the storm. They were no longer just two creatures fighting. They were two cosmic forces locked in a final apocalyptic embrace. The world below held its breath as the vortex pulsed, a beacon of destruction visible across the horizon. The final, sky-splitting collision was imminent, a release of energy that threatened to shatter not just the titans, but the sky itself. In that final suspended moment, something shifted. The ridge beast, with a colossal surge of strength born from the planet's core, forced the Leviathan's head upward, not toward itself, but toward the sky, the bleeding wound from which it had first emerged. The Leviathan, in its own moment of understanding, stopped fighting the beast and instead channeled all of its storm energy into a single focused beam of pure lightning. The two titans, mortal enemies seconds before, were now working as one. The combined energy, the earth power of the beast and the storm force of the Leviathan, rocketed upward, a spear of impossible light, and struck the tier in the sky. There was no sound, only a silent, blinding flash of white that consumed the horizon. The storm vortex dissipated. The lightning vanished. The deafening roar of conflict was replaced by an absolute, mythic stillness. When the light faded, the sky tier was gone, sealed shut as if it had never been. The clouds parted, and a serene, untroubled sunlight washed over Ragefang Ridge for the first time since the invasion began. The Ironstorm Leviathan, its lightning veins now pulsing with a steady, calm blue light, hovered in the sky, no longer an invader, but a sentinel. Below, on the highest peak, the Ragefang Ridge beast stood, its amber eyes no longer burning with rage, but with a watchful, ancient wisdom. The battle was over. The invader had not been vanquished, but transformed. The surviving titan, the Ironstorm Leviathan, now stabilized the very sky it had once torn open, becoming the eternal guardian of the Ragefang skies, its power forever bound to the primordial beast of the cliffs below, in a legendary unspoken truce.